Thank you. I suck. Muted. Thank you. All right, guys. Welcome back to the Pleb Underground, the signal without the slop. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Should work now. I should be back. Should be back. Yeah. Hope you guys had. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, by the way. Free RS guides and Plankton. I'm sorry. Eventually, I'll get it right. Eventually. Okay. Anyways, we got a whole lot of stuff to dive into. It is the week of Christmas. Seems like we're getting a bit of a Santa Claus rally. Is that my hopium? It's probably my hopium. But look, we're like apparently dead at like 89 something, and we were sitting at like 90K this morning. So I got to tell you, there's a whole lot of noise out there where a bunch of people are like banging on the drums that it's over. The 4-year cycle is totally intact. It means something, and it's all over. And everybody who has any inkling of hopium is just wrong. Just wrong. Well, I don't necessarily buy that, right? I think somewhere in between is the truth, and that's what we're trying to figure out. All right, so what are we going to be covering today? New prediction from Citigroup or Citibank. No tax exemption on Bitcoin. Oh my gosh, we are surprised. No, we're not. No, we're not. Not if you've been paying attention. Not if you've been actually watching this channel. You're not surprised. Okay. What else do we got? We've got Bhutan, right? Bhutan is like probably the only nation maybe that's doing Bitcoin right besides El Salvador. North Korea's crypto hoard. I don't know. I mean, are you really surprised? Yeah, we'll dive into that story. Oslo, right? Norway, duty-free shops at the airports accepting Bitcoin payments. CFTC Chairman announcement. Don't you wish you spent $86 and got a block reward of 3.12 BTC? I know, I do. Eternal paper Bitcoin. That's right. We've got some news from NAKA and Metaplanet and Trezor has a warning now. So last week we had the we had the issue with the Jade, which had been disclosed 2 weeks prior, and now we have a warning from Trezor. We're going to take a look at that, and what better way to kick off, right, the week of Christmas than reviewing the Home Alone grocery list from 35 years ago and seeing how well that panned out. Anyways, guys, you know the deal. Before we dive into this, we are going to give some love to the Pleb Underground sponsor, Archimedes Emporium. And we're going to be right back with all the fun. Let's freaking do it.
Pleb Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium.
See, and this is what I love about Bitcoiners who appreciate Signal, right? DCA to BTC and just live your life. Exactly. This is exactly what I did. And it's so funny because it's like, it's probably the most accurate statement you can make. And it's also at the same time, not very fun, right? That's not fun. Like people want to get rich yesterday, right? So the DCA to BTC and just live your life doesn't sound as fun. However, that's the most likely way you're not going to end up wrecked. Okay? It's the most likely way you're not going to end up wrecked. Just saying. I appreciate that, Hard HODL. Exactly. And price is just noise. Indeed. But of course, we love talking about the noise, right? At least I do. I love talking about the noise. So here we go, guys. Let's dive into it. Citibank. Boom. We've got, what do we got here? 189K in 2026. There you go. We've got one of the biggest banks in the world. They say it's not over. Not a fan of the banks, but I appreciate the hopium. So yeah, I'll take it. Hopefully they're right. Hopefully they're wrong. And we go even higher, right? Hopefully everybody is wrong. You know what? It's going to sound mean, but I don't really care. I'd like to see the people that sold the majority of their Bitcoin at 126K have to chase this shit over 200 in disbelief. I don't really care. And the reason why I say this is because that taught me a lesson when I had to chase Bitcoin, right? Which was, don't try to time the market. Just stack. And going back to Hard HODL's point, DCA to BTC and just live your life. Like, you're not going to sit there and you're not going to stress. You got some people that absolutely need this 4-year narrative to play out right now. They need it. They need it because if they're wrong, they're going to be really unhappy. Really unhappy. Anyways, let's continue on, guys. We got so much more to cover. So obviously we're going to get into the details about this analysis, right? It's not just 189K. So here we go. The analysts set, they set the price target at a base case of 143K target for the Bitcoin price over the next 12 months. They outlined a bullish scenario that places the price above 189K, while their bearish case sees the Bitcoin price falling to around 78.5 if macroeconomic conditions deteriorate, according to MarketWatch. Now look, you see this 85 here, right? You got the 8 and the 5. If you reverse that, you got 58. So there you go. Boom. If we hit that low of 78.5, we technically fulfill the 58K destiny, and we could just continue on our way up, leaving everybody who doesn't have any rect. Yeah, there you go. But look, I mean, this is 143K base case. You know what? Show me that at this point. I'll take it. All right. So this came out on Friday, and I just, because I did the interview on Friday, I didn't get to talk about this, but are you really surprised? I mean, is anyone really surprised at the end? And this is pure gaslighting, right? Because anybody who's actually paying attention, they're stable coins, guys. It's a stable coin. It's always pegged. I don't mean that as a pun, but it worked out. But it's always pegged to the dollar. What profits? Like, what taxes are they gonna? This is wild. Okay, this is wild and stupid. And to me, it's much more a representation of how stupid the government actually, as an entity, believes the individual can be. Yeah, I'm totally not surprised by this. Right. Everyday Bitcoin transactions, not going to get an exemption. Of course, right. The Bitcoin Policy Institute will be publishing a response, and they're going to push back on it. Now, does that mean that we may not get those, that tax legislation? No. But it means that there's probably going to be a bit of a dance, right? This is always kind of what happens, right? For what I've seen in my experiences is that you get these extreme scenarios right at the beginning, then there's some pushback. Then, the government entity takes a look at it and goes, oh, okay, fair enough. We're going to push back as well. We're not going to give you exactly what you're looking for, but we're going to make a slight compromise, right? And then the Bitcoin Policy Institute is going to also go back and say, all right, you know what? We accept your compromise, accept it. And this is just very typical stuff, right? That's all it is, just very typical. Hey, good morning, Phil. Good morning, Silent Lamb. And good morning, TK. Happy Monday. Yeah, anyways, they're not going to make it easy for us to see. And I believe the reason why this is happening, of course, is because institutions, as well as the government, the banks, they're much more incentivized to keep Bitcoin as a Wall Street asset, right? Like, this is something I've talked about several times, right? There's Bitcoin, the token, there's Bitcoin, the network. They work completely outside of the current financial system. And then you have this Bitcoin product that Wall Street, right? Guys like Saylor and stuff like that. Sure, Saylor's quote unquote buying real Bitcoin, but all of these products, right? These Bitcoin products on Wall Street, they are not Bitcoin. Sure, they have one of the 5 qualities of Bitcoin. Exposure to NGU. That's it. That's the only thing they have. Nothing else. No network, no token. It's not Bitcoin. Anyway, so look, obviously, to me, this is just par for the course. They don't want you using Bitcoin. They don't want you spending Bitcoin. They don't want you thinking about Bitcoin, the network. We need to be thinking about Bitcoin, the asset, only. It's the only thing that exists is the Wall Street creation of this product, right? The Wall Street Frankenstein of this product. It's the only thing that matters. Anyways. Bitcoin supporter Michael Selig confirmed as CFTC chairman. Yay, right? Again, this goes back to my previous point, right? They love Bitcoin. Look, they love Bitcoin. That's why they don't want you spending it, because they love Bitcoin, right? And look, because they love Bitcoin, we've got Michael Selig. He's confirmed as the CFTC chairman, also loves Bitcoin. Good for Bitcoin. All right. So this Travel Retail Norway, a chain of duty-free shops to accept Bitcoin payments on arrival at Oslo Airport. That's right. We are going to dive into the details of this. So we want to give customers, this is the CEO of Travel Retail Norway. We want to give customers free choice of a simple, secure payment experience. Bitcoin as a payment method is an exciting addition for those who prefer to use digital currencies. I like how he said that. I like how he said Bitcoin specifically. I appreciate that. Our mission is to operate and develop Norway's tax-free stores to help finance Norwegian aviation. We believe this will create a buzz in the Bitcoin community and help put Oslo and Norway on the map as forward-thinking destinations. Yeah, why not? Eh? We'll give them a golf clap, right? Small golf clap there for them. Yep. No, I know. The BlackRock ETFs in-kind redemption. The last time I checked. Indeed, TK, they can do in-kind redemptions. However, that is only for authorized participants. So you and me, we buy BlackRock shares. We can't convert that into Bitcoin. But the authorized participants, right, the big club that you and I aren't in, they can get Bitcoin. It's kind of convenient, isn't it? That's why you're just better off buying Bitcoin. But yep, I know they do the in-kind redemptions. And I can say this, right? I can concede the point that the ETFs are not nearly as nefarious, and maybe even one could argue not nefarious at all, in comparison to the Bitcoin treasury companies, which are indeed complete financial slop for Bitcoin. Yeah, that's true too, Phil. Might not like it, but we need lobbyists in DC for BTC. Yeah, hey, look, that's something that I think has always been true, right? And that's the thing about Bitcoin, though. Without the lobbyists, the network is perfectly fine. Like that is the truth, right? Like without the lobbyists, Bitcoin is fine. However, right, if we want Bitcoin to do what it does, then yes, right, we need the lobbyists to sit there and push for Bitcoin legislation and make it so that people get exposed to the network and the token, and more specifically, the qualities of self-sovereignty and actually holding Bitcoin. So yeah, I totally agreed. These are the things that we need. Anyways, let's continue on. Nice. So guys, I don't know if you saw this one. Someone just turned $86 into 3.12 BTC. A solo miner rented less than $100 worth of hash power via NiceHash's easy mining platform. I can't believe that's still around. And successfully found a Bitcoin block worth about $271K. We're so happy that you found that block. I am thrilled that you spent only $86 and found 3.12 BTC. Honestly, I'm thrilled. Bhutan pledges $1 billion in Bitcoin to build mindfulness city without selling reserves. It's interesting. I think I'm going to go back and take a look, but I don't think Bhutan has even seized any Bitcoin. I think they've actually purchased and mined all of it. Like one of the only countries that's not screwing people over so that it could stack Bitcoin. Again, I may be wrong, but that's pretty wild stuff. Oh, yeah. So here, Bhutan commits up to 10,000 BTC worth approximately $1 billion to fund Galefu mindfulness city construction through collateralized lending and yield strategies without liquidating its sovereign Bitcoin reserves. Hey, no way. All right, so here we go. The pledge channels Bitcoin holdings into GMC development through mechanisms including collateralized lending, risk-managed yield strategies, and long-term holding approaches designed to preserve capital while financing infrastructure. This development became possible due to a multi-year commitment to leverage Bitcoin's compounding value over time rather than converting reserves to cash. Not bad, Bhutan. Way to go. All right. You gotta love the quote unquote enemies of freedom, and just for transparency, right? I'm sure in North Korea, America is the enemy of their freedom, right? So it's just so funny. I just find it all so amusing. So North Korea just had its biggest year ever stealing cryptocurrency. So North Korean hackers had their biggest year stealing cryptocurrency in 2025. Cyber attackers sponsored by the rogue regime, right? So it's interesting. Like, they don't actually know, but sure, cyber attackers sponsored by the rogue regime have swiped over 2 billion in crypto since January, according to the latest findings from blockchain analytics firm Chainalysis, which I just want to point out, Chainalysis has been found on quite a few occasions to be incorrect in its findings. So I'm not saying that North Korea isn't doing this. I'm just saying there's a gray area in there. There's a whole bunch of people involved, not just one person. It's not just one country, all right? Anyways, through early December, the Chainalysis report shows thieves supported by North Korea have stolen over 50% more in crypto this year than in 2024. I guess business is good, huh? Bringing their total identified haul from crypto theft since 2016 to 6.75 billion. All right. Oh, good for them, huh? It's all shitcoins, though. I mean, I think for the most part, it's pretty much all shitcoins. But yeah, exactly, Phil. They target the DeFi platforms. That's exactly what it is. It's all shitcoins. It's pretty funny. Hey, thanks for Theodore. There we go. I think Bhutan's Bitcoin stockpile represents about a third of their GDP. All right, guys. Eternal paper Bitcoin. We haven't talked about it a lot. These companies have been beaten down, and unfortunately, this news is not any different. So, Kindly MD at risk of NASDAQ delisting after share price collapse. So essentially, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they get a notice after 90 days or they get a notice after 90 days being under $1 per share. And then they have, from that 90 days, I believe they have 180 days to get their share price back above $1. And not only that, but it has to stay above $1 for a certain number of business days. So NASDAQ sent Kindly MD a formal notice saying the company is no longer meeting listing rules. This does not mean the stock will stop trading right away. Well, of course not. Of course not, because guess what? After you get kicked off of an exchange, then you can go and do over-the-counter. And then if there's no over-the-counter, then there's still pink sheets. Pink sheets is the absolute bottom, though. Once you can't get traded for pink sheets, your shares are just not trading anymore. Anyways, the company now has 180 days to fix the problem. To stay listed, the stock must close. Yeah, I know. The stock must close at or above $1 for at least 10 days. That's what it is. 10 days in a row by June 8th, 2026. Though, guys, yeah, for the people that think that, NAKA is dead in the water, it's much more like floating around the drain. Okay, it's not dead in the water, it's just floating around the drain right now. Yeah, exactly, TK. We are definitely shocked, man. I am shocked. I am 100% shocked by this. You could tell. You could tell. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to go to that one yet. Okay, so what can they actually do, right? What can they do? Obviously, they can do a reverse share split, right? So let's just go and figure out, right? What can? Let's go take a look. Let's go look up the NAKA ticker. Okay, so they've got about 439 million shares out, right? 439 million shares. So guess what? They have to do, they have no choice. They pretty much have to do at least a 5 for 1. Sorry, a 1 for 5. My bad. So for every 5 shares that you have, they'll give you 1, right? And that should push them up over, right? That should push them up over, right, to like the the $1.50, maybe $1.65 mark, something like that. I don't know what the price is today of their shares, but that should push them right to that point, maybe even $2. But the reality is that is a red flag. I've said this before. It's something that I lived by before I ever got into Bitcoin and I was buying shares. yeah, I would see reverse share splits, and I'm like, you know what? No, thank you. That's my red flag. I am done. Okay, so they can do that. What else? What else can they really do? Right? Besides do a reverse share split. I mean, there's a possibility that they've already announced the buyback, the share buyback. Nobody cared. I think the shares stayed flat that day, and the next day we went down because their stock is correlated to Bitcoin's price mostly. So that's not going to do it. I got to tell you guys, I don't see them getting that share price over $1 without some serious freaking shenanigans. And I'm going to be looking at, I'm going to be looking at what's going on to see where this ends up. But I got to tell you, they don't. I don't think they can issue preferred shares. So there's that avenue is completely closed off to them. They can't issue preferred shares. The reverse share split is going to be a nail in the coffin. And they've already announced the share buyback that nobody cared about. So, anyways, that's a tough one. Kind of glad that, number one, I didn't get offered a job at those places, and I didn't take a job at those places. So, wouldn't want to be coming up with solutions for this crap. Because you know that somebody actually told them the right thing to do once upon a time, and they just didn't listen. Like, they don't give a shit, right? Like, they were just like, it's okay, we'll just buy Bitcoin and the shares will pump. You actually need to have revenue. Yeah, that's right. Cash flow from operations. Sounds crazy, but you need it. All right, moving on. So, Metasplat also, right? Metaplanet. So, as you may know, Metaplanet's shares were previously trading over the counter, right? As a ticker symbol MTPLF, right? So now they actually have a sponsor, right? There's actually a US side entity that is willing to, we'll say, vouch for Metaplanet, right? And not so many words. So now they've begun trading as MPJPY. And effectively, those shares, right, which are considered American Depository Receipts or ADRs, those are the real shares of Metaplanet. This doesn't mean that they're issuing more shares, okay, or anything like that. It doesn't mean that there's less shares or anything. All it does, you can look at it as a maturing. You can look at it as a step for a company that is maturing in a U.S. market. That's pretty much it. But yeah, not much else going on there. Hey, J-Dub, good morning. Good morning. All right, moving on. So the Trezor stuff, guys. That's right. This happened on Friday. We identified suspicious activity on Trezor.io related to a compromised third-party service used on the website. The issue was quickly resolved. Third party has been removed from our website as a precaution. The website is safe to use. There was no access to or exposure of any databases. Trezor devices, firmware, and Trezor suite were not affected. As a reminder, never enter your wallet backup, of course, into any website. The incident is resolved, and we're continuing to investigate. So, you know what? I always appreciate the responsible disclosure. This is actually what you want to see out of companies that are making signing devices, right? If they are doing this, then this is definitely the type of behavior you want to see. And Trezor, to my knowledge, has always been good about this. So yeah, this is just be careful, guys. And again, right, that whole, as a reminder, never enter your wallet backup, right? Your recovery words, your seed into any website. Oftentimes when we get, yeah, that's right. Trezor taking L after L. It's brutal, dude. As soon as they, and to your point, right, TK, if you ask me, it's because they support shitcoins, right? Like that to me is the whole problem. If they didn't support shitcoins, they wouldn't need all of these third-party APIs. They wouldn't need all of this crap and all these plugins. So it's like, what is the real value in actually supporting shitcoins? It just seems like you have to hire a whole bunch of extra devs to deal with a whole bunch of extra holes. Anyways, whatever. Apparently, Trezor seems to think that it's it's okay. And of course, for the guys You can install Bitcoin only firmware for your Trezor, so you don't have to deal with any of the shitcoin code or anything like that. And then if all of that stuff totally bothers you and your purity test is so high that you can't have anything else, then hey, you can just go and get a cold card. You'll have your 2 secure elements. You'll use Sparrow Wallet, and there you go. Right? You can do that. And if that's even too far gone and you want to go bare bones, you can just install Bitcoin Core and run a node. Right? You just use Bitcoin Core behind a VPN and door. Anyways, but yeah, there's solutions for everybody, right? There's solutions for everyone. That's right, guys. We're going to take a look at Kevin McAllister's 1990 grocery list in 2025. Let's take a look. Here we go.
Cost him $19.83. How much?
Okay. So obviously, I'm not going to play this whole 3 minutes of, because, probably already seen this movie and we don't need to watch the whole entire grocery list. All we need to remember is $19.83 for his original grocery list, right? Which was like these 2 bags. Okay. That's what this was. Now, if we fast forward to today, okay, we're going to fast forward to today. What does it come out to?
Checkout alone. Kevin paid $19.83 for his groceries in 1990, while our 2025 total is $60.24. Kevin! Then versus.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I don't think anybody's salaries went up that much, right? Like you definitely didn't have hundreds of percentage gains on your salary in that time, right? So it is pretty brutal. It is fairly brutal. And of course, as we all know, as Bitcoiners, right, this is a symptom of money debasement. This is an excellent argument for storing your value in Bitcoin. I remember seeing that movie back then, and I remember even watching the movie as a kid saying, did he really buy all that stuff with $20? Didn't even seem believable, but yet it was. Oh, wait, hold on a second. What's going on here, TK? Rob Ham just vibe coded an application to bypass Ledger Live's nonsense. Whoa. What are you talking about? People could just fix this stuff? It's crazy. No, I'm messing around. Yeah, of course. And you know what? That is a great example of, hey, people could just do things, right? Like you can just do things. Anyways, guys, yeah. I highly doubt anybody's, like I said, highly doubt anybody's salaries at their same position went up, 200 or 250% in 30 years. At least that much, right? I highly doubt that, but yet the costs have gone up that much. I can tell you most likely, if your salary did go up by that much in that many years, you most likely worked your ass off for that, right? Like I don't know if people understand really what it takes when you're working in a giant corporation to raise your own salary by that much. Right? Like, I don't think people realize. I'm talking about without getting a new position, right? Without applying for a higher level job, right? Like, very, very difficult to provide that much value, so to speak, so that your employer decides to increase your salary by several hundreds of percent. It's not that it can't be done. It absolutely can. The question is, what are the sacrifices required in order to get there, and are they worth it? Now, if all of that totally bothers you and you just like to simply, right, if you'd like to simply just be able to store your purchasing power without the headache, you just buy Bitcoin, Oh, so there you go. Thank you. Hey, Wacky Digital. I appreciate this. FYI, over 35 years, those groceries went up 3.3% per year on average. You know what? That's interesting. And I'll say, so what was it? When we were doing raises at the company that I worked at, essentially, I don't think anybody ever got more than like 3%. Like the 2.5 to like 3.2% was like that's like the top tier. Most people were in the like low 2s and high 1%. Now, I'm not saying that is the same everywhere, right? Obviously, it's not, but it's just for some perspective, right? And that was in Massachusetts. So even if you met expectations and superseded expectations at your job, you still, at least in my case, wouldn't have kept up with inflation. Still wouldn't be able to afford Kevin's groceries this many years later. Yeah. Anyways, all right, guys. So don't forget, we've changed the time for this evening's Bitcoin Tonight episode. We're doing them at 8 p.m. We're going to bump it back a half an hour. It's going to start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself, Humble Warrior, and Sir Ulrich sitting around, having fun, shooting the shit, talking about the drama. Excuse me. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time tonight on Rumble, YouTube, and Twitter. And guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. So I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll catch you all this evening. Take it easy.